I'm alive, finally. Gonzo, I finished my cup of tea.
I've microwaved mine to make it a bit warmer.
Well, I decided to be late. For those who are watching on playback, I was 20 minutes late. I'll tell you why. I decided to do a tribute to David Sullivan's striker hunt.
Should have taken 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's my excuse anyway. What do you want to talk about first? There's loads to talk about. Scott Parker?
If you like, I want to talk about those fine people in the group chat who are all very patient waiting. So thanks very much, everybody. Even the ones that said, well, got a bit saucy in the old group chat, I must say. Scott Parker. Yeah, do you know what? Good for Scott Parker. When I heard he's had a good career, Scott. He did one of those things that a lot of players do, and I wonder if some regret it. Which is he did what I know what I call a Sean Wright Phillips, which is he signed for the bigger club in Chelsea, and he didn't play much, and he wasn't happy with that. And a lot of people, these players, are content just to sit as a squad player at a lot of these big clubs, pick up the wages, and then technically say they've played for a big club. He wasn't happy. He left, and he left to improve himself. And he was fully committed, a proper West Ham player. And the biggest thing that I can say about Scott Parker is when we were really terrible, and Matthew Upson was our captain. And I used to watch us at the time, and whenever we were on telly, all the commentators, even though Matthew Upson was the captain and wearing the armband, always used to refer to Scott Parker. They kept on getting it wrong. They kept on saying a West Ham captain, Scott Parker, and that really said everything about him. That's the way he conducted himself on the football pitch. He might not have been the captain in name, but he played and acted like the captain. He was a really good player for us.
Yeah, I think the Chelsea thing was unfortunate. I think that was when they just got bought over, and they were sort of doing what we're trying to do right now, really, and that's go up a level. But to get to that level, they had to go through this middle stage where they went and bought sort of the best player from the teams down the bottom of the league, if you like. So they got Parker and Damien Duff, etc. And it was sort of, you'll do until we can get to Claude Makelele, etc. And what's your favourite Scott Parker moment at West Ham?
It was, I don't know, it was the half volley goal. Drove from midfield. It was a half volley, bouncing a half volley, just hit it absolutely sweetly. Scored some lovely goals. But my overriding memory, I think, of Scott Parker is the one thing that sticks with me. It's a crazy little thing. It's that little pirouette thing he used to do in midfield all the time. I think Noble learnt a lot off Parker. I would be interested to hear what Noble has got to say about it. But yeah, just the way he used to shield the ball away from the other midfielders, do that little pirouette sort of carry, always on his right-hand side as well. Used to carry it round and come away with the ball. Still silly little thing, but yeah, so I always remember him.
Yeah, I think the volley, you might be, I don't think we're talking about different ones. Mine was a volley as well, and that's when we were getting beat 3-0 by Chelsea. It was like 5 minutes to go, and the corner came out to him on the edge of the box. He just lobbed everyone, the keeper as well, in the back of the net. Stunning goal, but because it was sort of like a consolation goal, no one celebrated. It was sort of like, well, we'll forget about that. But honestly, that goal was one of the most underrated West Ham goals I've seen. I think that technique. If Lanzini did that, we'd be mentioning it for the whole season.
Well, it's almost like a bit of a consolation career at West Ham in many respects, because that was indicative, because most of the time we were getting beaten. And of course, he won the Player of the Year the season we were relegated. Not the PFA player, the Journalists Player of the Year, wasn't it? That one. You know, really quite an achievement, and you know, maybe soured it in some mind slightly by going to Tottenham, but he was a good player and he was committed. And what he must have thought, what Scott Parker must have thought, because he was so committed and so energised and so much behind the West Ham cause, what he must have thought about the likes of Freddie Ljungberg and Kieran Dyer and Matthew Upson is, I'd like to be a fly on the wall and no, we'll never hear, because he's got too much class to say it publicly. But I bet he used to think, you lazy bunch of whatsits, you know? Yeah,
well, when he announced his retirement, that's what I'm trying to say, it sparked an immediate debate on social media. Is Scott Parker a West Ham legend or not? 3 hammers of the years. And like you said, the Writers' Player of the Year when we finished bottom of the league.
Are you asking me?
Does that make him a legend? Yeah, does that make him a legend for you?
I don't know. I don't know what a legend is. Like Tone said on the forum earlier, doesn't really. It's only because I don't know what a legend is. I think Tone put it quite well. I guess these days, staying somewhere, you know, for 3-4 seasons and then being the peak player in 3 or 4 seasons, I guess does make you a very, very good player. It's just I'm so steeped in a legend being Trevor Brooking or Bobby Moore. I guess we're quite spoilt like that in our club, because historically we really do have legends who won World Cups or played their whole career at West Ham. So can he match up to those guys? No, he can't. But is he I'll give you a modern day icon rather than legend.
Yeah, I would say hero or icon, etc. Inspiration, if you like, maybe. Legend, no. I remember having this debate with you not long ago about Mark Noble. Is Noble a legend or not? And we were saying, well, what is it? And I was trying to say, well, to me, there's different legends. There's talent, and then there's loyalty. Noble comes under the loyalty one. Parker, for me, is not quite the talent one. But then again, if you're doing a Premier League, so modern era, West Ham all-time Premier League team, he'd be in consideration for one of the midfield spots. Him and Bishop would probably be a two. You're thinking, I wouldn't mind them in my centre midfield. Don't know, but you can let us know in the comments if you think Scott Parker's a legend or not. It's certainly, social media split on it, I think. It's pretty much 50-50.
It's subjective, though. It's a bit like when people say, what's a big club? So, who's a big club now? Or, are Leeds United a big club? And then it's just totally subjective, isn't it? So it's one of those ones. It's up to you. It's a personal thing, I think.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong, really. I think if he didn't go to Spurs, I think the votes might have swayed to yes a little bit, because he went to Spurs at the end. I think that sort of put a lot of people off. But this is going to be controversial. I don't blame him for going to Tottenham. He's a Tottenham fan. His dad was dying and wanted him to go to Tottenham. How you meant to say no to that? What I didn't like was the way he sort of, when he was at West Ham before he went to Tottenham, he didn't put any tackles in the set. So you could tell he didn't want to be there. And that soured the end of it for me. However, fantastic at West Ham. He would walk into our team today. If there was a 24-year-old Scott Parker out there, we'd all be saying, pay 25 million and go get him, please. But this guy isn't a West Ham legend. He's not retiring. Enner Valencia, we rejected a £5 million bid for him. Is £5 million too low, or would you have took it just to get rid of him?
I would have taken 5 million. Yeah, but I would say if they've rejected it, they're confident that another bid will be coming back. And I think if another bid does come back and is accepted, it won't be a lot more than 5 million. They might be holding out for 6 or something like that. I would have taken it. He cost 12. He's rubbish, and we knew we were going to take a loss, so I would have taken that.
I thought, I was surprised they rejected it. Actually, I thought they'd accepted it. It sounded like it was going through. Then it turned out, actually, no, we've rejected the deal. And I think they're taking a risk there that they're going to come back, because I can't imagine there being many other clubs. So if this one falls through, I can't imagine many others lining up, etc. It is a bit low, but that's where you sort of, I don't know, put a couple of clauses in. If you play so many games, or if you sell them on, we get a little bit more money, etc. But I think with pre-season starting literally in a few days' time, this time next week they're back in training, they need to start preparing this squad big time. And this is where you need to, the ones you want rid of, you have to get them out the door ASAP, in my opinion. There's no point in them being in training with the rest of them for a week or 2 weeks, because they're going to be demotivated. They're not going to want to be there. The other players aren't going to want them there. They're going to be looking at Valencia going, oh, you want to leave, we want you to leave, they want you to leave. Let's just hope someone bids some money for you. It's sort of awkward a little bit, having like a hanger on the edge of the pitch for training.
Do you think so? Or I mean, I often wonder this. Or are footballers so used to the fact that that's their lifestyle? If you just take Mark Noble out of the equation for a second, maybe Ginger Pele, they're so used to moving around, footballers, these clubs. I think they just accept it as part and parcel of their everyday life, that people leave and bids come in, and I often wonder. I think almost it's changed from that. It's not like you or me at work, and then it's almost just like their way of life. It's just accepted. I wonder.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I suppose it might annoy Bilic in a way, because he's trying to plan for going away on tour. Do you take Valencia, get him fit, play him when you could leave him at home and play kids, etc. in your pre-season? What do you do? It's sort of you're in this little bubble of what do you do with this player? Do you, because at the end of the day, we could end up with him at West Ham when the window shuts.
Well, and here's this. Is it beyond, does anyone think I'm speaking in La La Land here to suggest that maybe Andy Carroll is injured and maybe Diafra Sakho is injured? And if that's the case, and we've got a fit Enner Valencia, and no other striker has come in, which they haven't, unless something's happened in the last 20 minutes while you were fiddling around with your webcam, then we're going to be, what do you do? No strikers.
Webcam wasn't a euphemism, by the way. But the other thing is, though, the other thing with Valencia is the season starts 2 weeks before the window shuts, right? So he could essentially play 2 or 3 games for us and then leave. So I think it just creates a little bit of unknown. I don't like unknown. I don't like uncertainty. But the funny thing is, we've got training next week. There's only one new guy to introduce everyone to, so that'll be quite quick. Guys, this is Zabaleta. Cheers. Let's crack on. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But another guy that might be leaving, we touched on these 2 people last week, and I was saying I want to see them involved next season. It's looking less and less like, but this one looks. I'll be surprised this one doesn't go through Gonzo. Reece Burke to Bolton on loan for the season. Are you disappointed, or do you understand the perspective?
I'm disappointed for Reece, I think, because he's a West Ham fan and he would have loved to have played for West Ham. But he's not 17. You can only sit around for so long. And I think the manager at Bolton was in charge of him at Bradford as well, possibly. So he obviously rates him. So he's going for. You can understand the lure as much as you might love a club. You can understand the lure of actually a manager who don't quite fancy you in Bilic or think you're ready yet or whatever it is, and then somebody actually who's had you at his previous club wants you to take to the next one who clearly has a lot of faith in you. That's going to mean something. So I'm a bit disappointed for him, but I'm also pleased for him. If he wasn't going to get a game, no point in him hanging around, I guess.
Yeah, I'm disappointed because I really wanted to see him. I thought if we're playing 3 centre-backs next season, or let's just say even a third of the games we play 3 centre-backs, that's when opportunities will arise. All we need to be doing is missing one senior centre-back and there's a space. So I would have liked to see him more. However, on the flip side, I'm trying to remind myself, James Collins only got 1 season left. At the end of that season, he's surely going to go. And if this all works out, I'm sure the plan is, and I hope the plan is, Collins says, see you later. Thank you for your service change. Burke has a good season at Bolton, comes back ready, bulked up, whatever, ready with the hustle and bustle of the lower league life. And we see him sort of slightly more ready to step in. But I question the training and stuff. Is Bolton's facilities, Premier League standard? Probably not. And while it's game time, but are they lacking out on expertise in the space of that year? While they're getting game time, are they missing out on training ground stuff in order to have this loan? That's what I question a little bit. That's why I'm not so keen on people going out to League Two. Yeah, you'll get game time, but are you getting the coaching? Are you getting the knowledge? Are you getting the time? Why would we say when we take a player on loan, why are we giving this guy time? Why are we investing stuff in Kaleri? He's not going to be here. That club might be like that. Why are we investing time in Martinez? He's only going to bugger off to West Ham, where we've got our own player here. We could really nurture him and stuff. But I'm disappointed. But the other guy, Cullen, he might be joining Burke there. This one, I'm actually pissed off at this one.
I know you would be. Well, I thought he was meant to be getting a chance in pre-season, so I don't know. It's that hard. It's that between a rock and a hard place, really, of knowing what to do. Would it be nice to see him in pre-season? Yes, but he's not been playing to see him contesting and the top half, hopefully, of the championship. They'll probably find out a lot more about him. If he won, would he win everything? He won everything last season at Bradford, didn't he? The whole lot.
Cullen won about half. Burke won everything the year before, but Cullen won. He won about 3 awards out of 10.
But you could make a good case for saying he was their best player. If he then goes on and he's the best player in a championship team, and it's like Hughes. Hughes was playing for the under-21s last night. Looks good. Was at Derby. He's been a young up-and-coming guy at Derby for years. I think Watford had just signed him. But he was one of the dominant midfielders in that division. So, I mean, if Cullen can go and do that sort of thing, then maybe he opens an avenue for himself back at West Ham. And maybe the same for Burke. But the one with Burke is an interesting one because obviously we've got Reece Oxford out in Germany as well. And it seems to be the decision is that he goes there, Burke goes out to Bolton, and then Rice has a chance to prove himself. So actually, you wonder who's in the most advantageous position. What if Burke does have a half-decent season, but actually we do have an injury and Rice then proves himself? I wonder if Burke's looking at it and thinking, hold on, Rice is in the position I wanted to be. I wanted to be backup centre-back at the club. Has he jumped the queue? It's be interesting to see how he looks at it.
It's a hard thing to do, actually. It is hard calls. You've got 3 talented young centre-backs there. It is very difficult to decide which one you're going to loan out, etc., which one you're going to keep in the entry. It's difficult. But the Cullen one, that would piss me off a lot if he disappeared, because we had enough centre midfielders. Now we're so Nordvite. We're not exactly flush in that area. And we have to remember, Chiati is sort of half cover for the centre-back positions as well. But I really want to see Cullen next season, even if it's just on the bench. You know, we'll speak about him. Well, he's in the news at the end, but Quina was on this bench, 13 times last season. Come on, that 13 times is probably important for our players' development, going away with the team. You know, people like Mark Noble and Collins, etc., they'll probably look after the kids and stuff. They will look after the kids. And it'll only be good for their confidence as well. It can't be good for their confidence. Right, you off if you go to Bolton, see, a year there, right, okay. I'm disappointed with Burke and Cullen, though, but time will tell. Hey, are you ready for some gossip on the incomings? It's only gossip, unfortunately.
Yeah, go on.
Well, we'll start with Theo. This is the one everyone's been chatting about, the new one. We haven't discussed Theo Walcott yet this summer, so what's your thoughts on Mr. Walcott? 25 million, apparently.
I think it's a good deal. I think 25 million is a very good deal. Obviously, I've heard a lot of people. Let's be fair. I did a Your Shout the other day, and it was all pretty much positive. But obviously, there are some that have an opinion that he's a little bit too injury prone. And I've always maintained this. Last season, we're not in a position where we're able to turn our nose up at such players at West Ham. We are not yet that size of club. We're not going to get the finished article. If what you want is the finished article, who's in his peak years, who's going to score you lots and lots of goals and not have an injury, well, those guys cost an absolute ton of money and don't cost 25 million. So I think what he is he's proven that he can score goals in the Premier League. He's got pace to burn, which is something that we need as well. And he can play as a striker now, which I think would be why we'd sign him. If we're going to sign him as a right wing, I'm not sure what the point would be, because we've got Antonio there that would perhaps offer goals and pace on the right-hand side, which is what Theo offers. But I think he's been hankering all his career to play through the middle. And if we were going to give him a chance, I'd certainly, if we can't afford a striker that's going to cost, and we're getting quoted 40, 50 million, then, it might be worth a punt. It's a very good finisher, by the way. His finishing is very, very underestimated, Walcott.
I'm torn. I think you're not going to like my opinion on this one. I'd be happy if we got Walcott for 25. I wouldn't say, oh, it's a crap. He's a fantastic player. He's a good player. But one, it depends on where Walcott wants to play. I think that's important. Does he want to be a right winger or a striker? There's no use buying him and putting him in a position he doesn't want to be in. We've got to have an honest chat with you and say, where do you want to play? If you get to pick, where would you be? And if he says right wing, it's a no-go for me. Like you said, Antonio's got that position. But 2, I just think it's too expensive. I think if we're going 25 million, I think we're in that sort of money where there's better players for 25 million, and that makes sense. If he was 15 million, I'd bite your hand off, but he's not. He's 25 million. I just think when you've got Iheanacho and etc. quoted at the same price, I would just prefer to see one of them. I don't think he is injury prone. I've seen some people say he's injury prone. I don't think he is. He plays 30 games a season quite regularly, bar when he had his one big injury. I'm not on the injury prone thing, but if there was 2 strikers, we're seeing in the Daily Mail, Giroud and Walcott, 50 million. Now that would be a dream. The problem is I've got Gonzo. I don't have faith we're going to get 2 strikers at that price. Either we're getting 1.
Well, and some might suggest that you were being optimistic by suggesting we were going to get 1 striker. That's before I start on any rant or anything. Let's just say that the transfer window doesn't open until tomorrow, I don't think, anyway. So
I believe it's actually been open for about 2 or 3 weeks. I thought it was first as well. It was actually open in the middle of June or something.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I thought it was 1st of July. And when I went on the Three Hammers show, we all said on it, this doesn't open till the 1st of July, chill, and a few people commented saying, actually, it's open on such and such of June. Someone in the live chat put up when the transfer window opens. Google it for us.
Well, I mean, but I had an email back off the Premier League today, because I emailed the Premier League about not... I got no contacts or anything, but I emailed them and said, look, when can I do mine? We're doing a Hammers Chat fantasy football league, and you're all welcome to join. I'll post a code out when we've got it. And I said, when's it opening? They said, the gate. And the email I got back was saying, they said the game doesn't get refreshed. All the squads don't get refreshed until the 10th of July. And literally the email came today and they said, that's because the transfer window's not even opened yet. So
9th of June. People in the live chat are saying 9th of June it opened. Obviously, clubs are chilled. The clubs aren't really getting into it because the players aren't back yet. But that's when it was. But I don't know. Theo, great player, fantastic player. If he was the striker we got as a main striker, I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't necessarily say, it's rubbish. I wouldn't be disappointed. I just think if you're in the 25 million zone, I just think there's better out there. I think if you're... Remember when we were talking about Lacazette and we said, if you're going to pay 40, you're going to go to 45. 5 million. Once you're up there, 5 million is not much different. We're at 25. What's 3 million more is not that much different. And for 28 million, you're then looking at not top Premier League strikers. You're looking at the next category down. I'm just not sure Walcott's in that category. For me anyway. Another striker, we were linked with him very, very briefly. It looked like he was off to China. No, it's not Diego Costa. Modeste. Third highest goal scorer in the Bundesliga last year, 29-year-old. You're shaking your head no at me.
Yeah, sorry, I'm shaking my head because I don't know who you're talking about. I literally wouldn't know him if you walked past me in the street, and that's the truth. I don't know who he is. My son hasn't signed him on FIFA, so I know nothing about the fella.
Well, he plays for FC Köln over in Bundesliga, third highest scorer in Germany last season, but he's 29. He did play for Blackburn years ago. He didn't score any goals for Blackburn Rovers. They got it was a crap. That was when they were crap. That was when the chicken people.
That was when they were crap, you say, as opposed to now.
That was when the Benki chicken people were having their little.
I think they're still there. I think that's why they're being dragged down and about to probably go into liquidation or something.
I think that's when they had Steve Keane and Nutter in charge. The guy literally was a manager, didn't have no control. I think he was a manager at the time, so I don't think you can judge him on that. But 30 million though, price tag, money. But he was set to go to China, but it's fallen through. Right, let's talk about this guy. Last week we were saying we thought he was coming. We were getting excited, Gonzo.
Yeah, he looks a very good player. Lots of tricks. You've got your mate who you discussed and knew the Belgian league. I spoke about Tim. Tim follows it quite closely, and we've seen the videos, and he looked good. And yeah, it's not happened, has it?
Well, in case you don't know what we're chatting about, Onyekuru, we spoke about him last time. I never heard of him. Gonzo never heard of him. But since we'd heard of him and read things, seen things, we were looking forward to it. 7.8 million, or 6.8 million, sorry, looked a step. Were you convinced he was coming to West Ham? Let's start with that. Were you convinced how sure were you he was going to be a West Ham player?
Yeah, I thought he was a sniff, a Tony Henry sniff, let's call it. I thought he was an Obiang or somebody like that who was going to be, a Masuaku, just going to be linked to him very quickly, and then we were going to buy him, not as a main signing, but somebody that was going to offer as a striker and a sort of pacey left winger who could perform both roles. I did think he was coming, but the first rumblings were when we started getting linked with Traore from Middlesbrough, who you might argue plays a similar type role, if you like, occupies a similar area of the pitch, let's say.
Yeah, I was confident he was coming, actually. I was ready to do a show with you speaking about him. I was that confident. I was trying to read more and more into him to sort of have some sort of stuff to talk about. Well, that was a waste of bloody time. No point in mentioning his 22 league goals last season then. Those stats I've absorbed as pointless. But he's gone to Everton. But it turns out, well, do you think we've messed up here, Gonzo? Now, it turns out the truth's come out. We all thought he had a work permit sorted. It's not sorted. Everton have took a punt, paid the money, sent him out to Anderlecht in Belgium on loan so they can gain his work permit out there. have we ballsed up, let what is a kid with a lot of potential go for 6.8 million, or are we keeping our powder dry and budget intact?
Well, we don't know, and we won't know, and we won't know for a year, and maybe more. I was seething when I found out for a year. You told me, and I was I had the right arm, and then I found out the extra details. So what they're doing, Everton, they're loaning him out to Anderlecht for a season. So I just thought, actually, forget if we've ever been linked with him, right? Imagine you'd never heard of him. Okay, so forget those couple of links, a couple of weeks. Imagine the club announced, we're about to sign a player for 7.6 million. We've signed him, and we're going to loan him out for a season. And that season that we loan him out, okay, he's going to hopefully get some experience. By that point, he'll hopefully be eligible for a work permit, which is why they're loaning him out. And then, oh, by the way, he's from Africa when he comes back. We're going to pull him back. Hopefully he's all right, but he'll be buggering off to the African Nations Cup. I'll tell you what now, if we bought a player and then loaned him straight out for a year and he couldn't play, actually, they're being for a lot of stick, because we would be saying, actually, we need players for now. And so for that reason, I don't think we have at this point ballsed up. What will be really bad, though, is if in 18 months' time he's ripping down the wing for Everton and suddenly looks like a 30-40 million pound player. It might look like a lack of foresight. But as soon as I heard he doesn't qualify for a work permit, he couldn't play in this country anyway, it doesn't matter. I'd rather spend that money on someone that can play.
I can see both sides of the coin. I'm disappointed because I'd got my hopes up. I was looking forward to seeing him. And then even though he has to go alone, I'm thinking, well, like you said, what happens if he was ripping up Everton? We've just missed out big time. He was well sought after for a reason. But I can see the other side of the coin. This, again, comes back to what I just said about the Walcott. I don't believe we're going to sign 2 players for big bucks. I don't believe we can afford to spend 6.8 million on our winger and not have an impact this summer. We will have an impact. I don't think they could afford 2 strikers, Onyekuru and Traore. I don't think they could. Well, they could afford it, maybe. Will they pay for it? I don't know. I don't have confidence. That's why I can sort of see why we've let this opportunity pass. But it's a disappointing one. It seems a little bit short-sighted again to me, Gonzo. It just seems a little bit like he's not going to help us survive in the Premier League this season. Cheerio, mate. We're going to get someone in that can contribute to the season. I think we kind of need both, unfortunately. I think we need someone for this season and someone for the future.
I think they're trying to keep quiet. I think they've had so much criticism for leaking stuff. I think the board are trying to keep quiet. Reading between the lines, what I think's happened is they wanted him, they were going to get him, and then the moment they found out he couldn't get a work permit, they just pulled out. And because they're being quiet, they didn't tell anybody. Do you know what I mean? They just let the rumour mill do its stuff, and I just think that's what's happened. They've just pulled out. But I think on this one they were damned if they do, damned if they don't. We sign him and loan him out, they get criticised. Don't pull out and don't sign him, they get criticised. So what doesn't help is we've not signed anyone apart from the right back. So we've not spent any money, and that's what's making it feel worse, because we're thinking, hold on a second, where is this signing coming from? And then I don't know if you've seen tonight, Everton have been linked with hijacking the Giroud move, and now there you think, well, hold on, now that is serious, because they're spending some money. Everton, they really are.
They've got the money. They've got the money. Interesting you say that about not signing up. But when this Twitter went a bit mad, everyone got angry. So I decided to put a poll on Twitter. I said, why is everyone angry here? Is it because A, the fact we missed out on Onyekuru, ignore the deal, the fact we missed out on the player? Is it B, the fact that we sort of scuppered the deal and lost out to a rival? C, the transfer window, you're worried about it? Or D, other comment. But 55% of people said the transfer window. Only 9% of people, there was about 800 people voted. Only 9% were disappointed we missed Onyekuru. Now that says a lot. 55% of people were worried about the window, and there was about 25% worried that we've missed out on a player to a rival. So 80% of people are worried that Everton have beat us in the window and hole. It shows that it can be fixed like that, though. We somehow get a striker in the next fortnight. It sounds like a long time, but it's quite quick in football. Everyone will just calm down a little bit. The pressure, Zabaleta did it. We signed Zabaleta, everyone chilled a little bit. Everyone thought, oh, hang on, we've got the right back sorted now. We only need one position. But it's now everyone's sort of tensions rising, frustrations are building. Does it just come down to lack of faith, Gonzo?
Yeah, but I do think that the lack of faith from the fans is warranted. I do think that's something that the board are going to have to take on the chin, because it's not that every West Ham fan is pessimistic, although maybe we do have a slight natural pessimism. What I do think the pessimism you're seeing in the transfer window now is actually a net result of the last 2 or 3 transfer windows, because we've been crying out for a striker for a long time now. It seemed initially we were talking about it for 6 months, then it was a year, then it was 18 months. We said in the last transfer window, winter transfer window, we were saying 18 months we've been after a new striker. Well, it's now 2 years since everybody else, us fans, have all known we need another striker, and it's still not happened. And that is why the fans are nervous. That's why the fans are pessimistic, and I do think it's they're welcome to it in that sense, because you reap what you sow, and they've mucked up the striker situation for what would be 4 consecutive transfer windows, so it needs to be sorted.
Well, if you remember back in December, a while ago, just before January transfer windows, Gonzo was talking about, I think Gonzo said, what striker would we like, blah blah blah. We mentioned a couple. We were then linked with those strikers, etc. One of them was Scott Hogan. There was another one. I can't remember who it was. It was Onyekuru just not long ago. That's who it was. Remember, we said Onyekuru was available, but we did it with Scott Hogan. There's a striker now available. I think we're going to get linked with him within the next 3 days, Gonzo. I'll predict by Friday. There's a newspaper article somewhere saying West Ham want this striker, and I know, fine, you're going to love him. Hernandez, Bayern Leverkusen. You love Little P.
I do. He's got that thing that you cannot coach, which is finding space in the box. Every so often you will find a little player, and he is a little fella, that scores lots of headers as well. And it speaks volumes when they do, because they can just find a lot of space in a box. And he's quite quick. He's very quick as well. He's a poacher. He is the fox in the box. He's not somebody that's going to dribble past 20 players and bang it in or cut in from the wing. He stays central. He's an excellent player, and there's not many players that guarantee goals, but he does.
Is he your number 1 striker choice now?
In all honesty, I hadn't even thought of him recently until you're right. I do like him. Historically, I do like him. I hadn't even thought about him in this window until you mentioned him then. So, yeah, if we had you talk about the club getting a lift and the fans getting a lift by signing a striker. If I woke up tomorrow morning with the old yellow banner going up on Sky Sports News saying Chicharito signs for West Ham, I would be buzzing. I would be absolutely buzzing.
For you guys that are thinking there's no chance of getting him, Leverkusen were rubbish last season. They avoided relegation on like the second last game of the season. I know it's not too different to us, but they then sat their manager. A few of their bigger players have left already, and apparently Hernandez is also one of these players that's been allowed to leave. Apparently he's been told he's up for sale if he wants to go. So I think we're going to be linked with him in the next couple of days anyway. Sticking in Germany, Gonzo, now to the minor West Ham. Well, any more transfer news of that we've seen? Have you seen any more transfer links? There's a couple more actually. How do you say this guy? He's a Senegalese winger in Turkey. Young Tom, we know how to say this. Endai, is that how you say his name?
I know. Yeah, I don't know, but I did say I saw the link with him. Yes, don't know him. Never seen him play.
No, I mean neither. And Hazard, we're linked with Hazard as well. Unfortunately, it's not Chelsea's.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a bit like being linked with Gary Ronaldo, not the good one, not the one over at Real Madrid, the one that plays for Rushden and Diamonds. Yeah, it's the wrong Hazard, isn't it? So I don't know.
Yeah, he's still quite a good player, but we'll see. I think that's just 2 little links. I don't know if they'll go anywhere. But anyway, back to Germany. Speaking of Germany, we've announced a 3rd friendly in Germany. Altona, the 4th division side in Germany, in Hamburg, and then 2 young players have been called up for the under-19s European Championships. It's a good thing, this. Do you like seeing our young players called up for their age groups at international level?
I do. I just don't like them being called up to the senior team in case they get injured. I do like it because what it shows is that we're developing talent, and we've got young talent in the lower age groups, which is good for West Ham, because obviously we hope that one day that'll be reflected and we'll see those guys in the first team. So, yeah, it was Nathan Trott was one of them, and who was the other?
Tweeter, he's in Portugal's squad.
Yeah, sorry, of course, I saw that. Yeah, he was saying that he would quite like to play in the number 8 role. He was looking for a more central midfield role next season, which might, looping back on ourselves, what we said earlier, might go to explain why Cullen might be being let go for the season.
Yeah, I had to chuckle actually. I've seen that article on the official site of him saying he's looking forward to his future at West Ham, fancy himself at number 8. The next day I seen him linked out on loan to someone. I thought you couldn't make this up really. But what's good about him is he's 17. Is he 17? He must be 17 now.
I think he is, yeah.
17 years old. He's awaited under 19s championships. And well, age isn't a huge factor. When you get to the under 21, it's not so odd to have an 18-year-old. But at that age group, there's still a big difference in sort of build of people.
Well, he's tiny. He is. Yes. He's tiny.
It's good to see him involved as well. But anyway, before we get on to question time, we've got another topic to talk about, which is quite a big one. We'll get to that in a second. We've got a second YouTube channel. The link is below. We've got a series which is going to be going forever, really, which is called Your Shout. You can get involved on your camera phone or your dodgy webcam. You've got one like me. Just record yourself, talk about anything West Ham. Can be absolutely anything. Anything me and Gonzo have discussed tonight. So Hernandez, Walcott, well, done a Walcott, but maybe we can do that again. Burke and Cullen going out alone. Are you pissed off? Are you happy for them? Let us know. Record yourself for 60 to 90 seconds and send it over to info@hammerschat.com. We piece it together. We publish a video. It's easy as that. Gonzo, I wasn't actually going to mention this, but a couple of people, someone tweeted us saying, well, I'll mention this. Just put out on Twitter, well, do you want us to talk about this? And the response said yes. Ex-West Ham employee deactivated his Twitter account. Now, while this isn't West Ham, it's sort of part of West Ham. And we sort of discuss this stuff on here at the end of the day, don't we? What's your opinion on it? For those who don't know, he's a Twitter account. He's on In the Know, does his articles, does his radio show. And when the Onyekuru deal went through, he got quite a lot of abuse, saying that, you sort of led us to believe it's going through, blah, 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 blah. And he's deactivated it to get away from the abuse for a little bit. What's your opinion on this?
Okay, there's two opinions. There's number one, what was inaccuracy of what was said. And then there's number two, which was just the way people sometimes conduct themselves over the internet. And I could do a 4-hour cup of tea on that one, to be perfectly honest with you. It's the internet's a wonderful thing, though. You do have the right. There's a button on there, and you do have the facility to switch it off if it gets too much. And that's clearly what he's done. And I'm pleased for him that he's exercised that right to do it. Before I talk about what I was at a funeral yesterday, so I didn't see what was said. I came back and I found out it had happened. I've said this to a few people before. It's very, very easy to concentrate on one bad comment. Now, I'm sure there was more than one bad comment on there for him to have done that. But sometimes we all get them, Geo. You know this. We all get these comments, and it's so easy. But the fact of the matter is, you can have 100 nice comments. So, we've done some shows in a week, and the majority of them said, I really enjoyed that. Thanks very much. Can we have a bit of this next time? Thanks for doing that. Thanks for taking time. It's so easy to actually ignore all those nice comments and then the one person that's having a pop to try and concentrate on them. But they're not reflective, and they're not real, because we've met a load of really nice people at the boats, and there's so many people that we've met there's so many genuinely nice people on the internet. But unfortunately, there's something anything. There are just some people that just do want to spoil it, and I don't know. So I don't really know his reasonings. You've probably spoken to him today. I haven't. I don't know. I do feel it could be a hostile. People don't act on the internet like they act in real life. And actually, if you go back to remember the David Gold thing, right? When he got the thing about the teenagers, he got that so wrong. He really did get it so wrong. But there were comments on there whereby people were saying nasty things about him dying, and about this, that, and the other. And what you were dealing with then was basically an 84-year-old man who's in very, very poor health. Now, in life, you are taught, actually, to make exceptions for the very young and the very old. There's no way that people would go up to an 84-year-old man in the street and go, you're going to die. And people just act funny when they're on the internet and act in a way that maybe they don't act like normally. And I'm quite sure that most of the people that did say nasty things to him wouldn't ever have said that to his face. And So I feel it's a shame that he's had to close it down. But as I say, it's not real life. And if you do need to hit the pause button and take a break, then that's what it's there for. And I hope he's done it for the right reasons. I'm sure he'll be back. But I do. My overriding thing when I thought about it is you do have to take all the positive. The positive far outweighs the negative, and there are far more nice people on the internet than nasty ones. It's just the nasty ones do sometimes tend to stand out, and that's my thoughts on it, really.
Yeah, that's a fair rant. I'm going to have mine now. I know 2 ex-West Ham employees, if that makes sense. I know the person. I consider him to be a friend of mine. Okay, and then the second one, I know ex-West Ham employee Twitter account profile. They're the same person, obviously. Before someone tries to say I'm saying it's the same person, but it's 2 different personalities to me. Now, the person behind the account is a lovely bloke as you'll ever meet. I consider him to be a good friend of mine now. I speak to him pretty much every day. And yesterday, he messaged me saying, well, he was asking me, if I deactivate, will I lose all my stuff? Will I lose my photos? I said, no, it's just sort of temporarily. You've got 28 days or whatever to come back. It's deleting your account now. So he said, yeah, okay. So he said he was thinking about taking a break because he was getting abused. He showed me a couple of screenshots. It's just unnecessary. Whether you agree with it or not is unnecessary. I don't agree with some things people do on Twitter. But I'm not going to go tweet them, abusing them just for the sake of abusing them. And X takes things personally. It's unfortunate that he does. He's not got the thickest skin. And he's the first person to admit this. I'm not talking behind his back. I'm talking on a live stream. He can watch this if he wants to. I'm sure someone will probably tag him in it or say, hey, they were talking about you. But he doesn't have the thickest skin. He's the first person to admit it. And it gets to him. It really does get to him. But sometimes his account, on the flip side of it, on Twitter, he can be a bit reactive. He reacts to people. He does. He is a wind-up merchant's dream that if you probe him, he will snap back, and they know it. And he does that, and he knows he shouldn't do it. He's told me before. I've told him before. This is what I'm saying here is nothing new. I've not said to SSL employee himself, right? But going back to what Gonzo just said, every account, Hammers Chat, West Ham Fan TV, the 3 Hammers, Hammer and Talk, West Ham Way, Sex Drugs, Cart and Co. I can go on and on and on. Card and Hugh, etc. These are my brand. We do this for free. We don't get paid for it. You know, if any, we do make money through advertising that, it goes back into our relevant platform. Do you think our camera equipment just magically falls out the sky? Do you think ex-West Ham employees' radio show thing just is in his back garden? No, it's not. Do you think his event's free to put on? No, it's not. Is our boat's free, stress-free? I bloody wish it was. It's not. Like these here, side photos of Creswell, Tony Cotty, etc. They're not free. They cost money. What do we do with them? We give them back to people. We're trying to provide something for fans. Like I said, 90% of fans are happy. They enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it, they just don't bother. That's fine. That's your decision. But there's 10% that just take it too far and piss everyone else off. And it's a shame for X. He will be back. I'm quite confident because he enjoys it, really. But he started that account simply to tell West Ham fans what's going on at the club. That's all he did. He gets a little bit abuse for it, really. But there, that's our rants over. Gonzo, it's time for questions. If you've got questions, send them in. I'll start taking them. Question number 1, someone sent this on Twitter. We had it last time. Sam, he said he's gonna ask us this every single time we do a cup of tea during the window. On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you?
Oh, we did that last time.
I said 5, and I said 3.
I'm still 5 actually. Yeah, because that didn't bother me at the end of the day. What we discussed earlier, what's it from Belgium?
Yeah, I think I've maybe gone up to 4, but it's only because Crystal Palace and I went into natural. That's another club in the frame that wasn't in the frame last week when we last discussed it. But like you said, Everton are now sniffing about Giroud. Koeman is sniffing about. He scares me, Koeman, because he's. Yeah. I've said it before. I think he's the best manager in the league, given his resources, what he does. He scares me. Ian says the club are being quiet about transfers. This contradicts what we just spoke about. We just spoke about it in the know here. Ian says the club are being quiet. Are you enjoying it? Are you happy with it, etc.?
No, Ian. I would be a complete and utter hypocrite if I said I wanted the club to be quiet. I've got to say, the more that goes on, the more rumours. The truth of the matter is, the more we've got to talk about, and clearly myself and Geo like talking about West Ham stuff, which is obvious why we point a camera at our face and do it. So, no, I quite like the rumours coming out. I quite like, we've got a Cockney Hammer does a roundup on the forum each morning of all the rumours and all the gossip, and it's a bit of my ritual, actually, getting my cup of tea in the morning and clicking that open and seeing what the latest gossip is. So, no, I'm one of the few that I think preferred it when there were a few more leaks. I'm
a bit of both. The club, yeah, keep that shut, please. David Sullivan, you know something, credit to them, actually. Credit to the club, because the club himself, Jack, David, Karen, David Gold, none of them have spoke about transfers. I remember a year ago, literally 12 months ago, I put a video of Carlos Bacca's goals from the season on Twitter. All these goals, bam, bam, bam. David Gold favorited it, and I thought, cheers, Dave. But I thought, things like that is just teasing the fans. You know, it's just and I'm actually glad the club, the officials of the club, they're in the know stuff. You know, there's loads more in the know than ex-West Ham employees, just the biggest one on Twitter. I read them all. I enjoy them all. I don't agree with them all. I don't think they're all reliable. I think there's some more reliable than others. But I know people that think the ones I find most reliable are the least reliable, and vice versa.
Oh, big time, and that goes back to what you were saying before. Yeah, some people just don't trust somebody because it's somebody. But I guess, you know what, if you are going to set yourself, X Hugh as well, you include yourself in this. If you are going to be in the know, then unfortunately you're gonna get that, because you are basically suggesting that you're getting news. So, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I like it. I like all that stuff.
Well, yeah, I enjoy it all as well. I enjoy the in the know stuff. I like reading about it. I like discussing it with my friends, whether it's in private, whether it's on the forum, whether it's with you on here, whether it's reading people's comments on YouTube afterwards, whether it's on Knees Up Mother Brown's forum, whether it's West Ham Fan TV, Three Hammers, Hammer Talk, discussing the same thing we've discussed. I love the fact we've all got different opinions. This is 2017 now. People say, oh, I never used to be like this. I used to enjoy going on teletext, go, oh, we're signing a player. Yes, but we've moved on now. Did you also like only having 4 channels on your TV? No, you probably enjoy the fact you've got Sky now. So you can't just pick and choose bits of technology in the new age that's coming. I think you have to embrace everything. It's not going away. And I enjoy everything. I enjoy it all. And I'm glad that we've got, as West Ham fans, we've got so much content to choose from, actually. I'm actually glad for that. Got a few more. Darren, a couple more people had the same sort of questions. Darren says, Cullen's gone out alone. Someone else said that Nordvigt's gone out. Do we now need a centre midfielder? Because as I said at the start, I think we're quite light in that area now. Who've got Noble, Obi and Chiati?
Well, I thought we needed a box-to-box midfielder for some considerable time, actually. We need energy and sort of legs in the middle. So, but somebody that plays. So, yeah, I really do. I also think sometimes, particularly if Lanzini's not in the middle, that we lacked a bit of craft, a little bit of guile, some of a bit of vision that can pass and pass accurately and consistently. So, yeah, I would not turn my nose up at a decent midfielder that could pass the ball around and provide us with a bit of energy.
Leads us on to Hammer time. The thing is, for the centre midfielder, I think we should just stick with Cullen. I really do. Just have Cullen as the 4th choice centre midfielder. If all goes to pot, Lanzini's capable of playing there. Lanzini's a very good centre midfielder. Yeah. I used to want to see him converted when we had Payet. Now Payet's well, I want to see him stay where he is. But it was a game against, was it Spurs? He played centre midfield.
It was right near the end of the season, and yeah,
he had a stormer of a game. It might be Spurs for some reason. Was it him? No, I can't remember. But he was fantastic anyway in the actual centre midfield. It was against a big team, because I remember thinking, "Oh, not sure about that. This is a game we could run in midfield." He was fantastic. Jake said, "Well, actually, Hammer time." Speaking about your centre midfield, says, "Do you still want Ross Barkley?"
Oh, I'd take Ross Barkley. I'd absolutely take Ross Barkley. Ross Barkley is a very, very good player. Very good player. Again, we're not so good at West Ham that we could turn our noses up at players like that. Ross Barkley would walk into our team.
Not for me. good player. Money can be spent better elsewhere, I think. Jake says, if we do get a decent striker, whoever we consider that to be, we get him. Where do we finish next season?
Right, okay, so forget the freak season where Leicester popped up there. You've got to think that the top 5 are cemented. Just swap your order around. And then you've also got to think that Everton, the way they're spending money, both on finished players and players that are ready to play now, and young players like Lookman, you've got to say that almost that 6th place shown up. So I think everybody else is playing for 7th, as sort of sounds a bit negative, really, doesn't it? You know, it's quite low expectations. But I think the best West Ham could possibly finish, and that's with everything going, as you say, well in the transfer window. The best we could have possibly hope to finish is 7th, because we will not finish above any of the other teams above.
Yeah, I think that would be sort of like a dream season, really. My aim is top 10 in a cup. Striker, no striker, that's my aim. It's up to the board to get the players in to achieve that aim, if you like. I think most fans would agree with me, actually. I'm quite confident most would take a decent cup run. If we get drawn against Man U in the quarterfinals and go out, there's no shame in that. But if we get drawn against a team like Stoke, we need to be going all out. And I'll happily sacrifice points in the league. Pardew did it. Pardew sacrificed points in the league to get that FA Cup run. If Bilic is honest and comes out and says, listen, I'm putting a rotated squad in the Premier League, so I'm going for the FA Cup, not one fan will go, you can't do that. I think every fan will go, good on you. About time we've got a manager who's going to do this. Darren says, if a bid came in of 12 million for Aaron Creswell, would you take it?
Oh, Darren, I couldn't possibly. It's my son's favourite player. It'd be, I wouldn't even know how to explain it to him. It'd be absolutely dreadful. He's just got a new Creswell poster as well, and some new West Ham curtains and a new duvet set. It's fully West Hammed up, and Cresswell's got pride of place in the middle of the room. I don't even know how I'd even go about that. No, Cresswell. I couldn't even sell Cresswell for 50 million, mate. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to explain it to my son.
A guy called Mark put in a question. Can you put it in again, please? I can't read my writing. I've wrote not, and I don't know what I wrote after that. Tom asks, are you worried we won't sign a decent striker?
Yeah. It does play on your mind a little bit, but I don't think it's like earlier on we spoke about how they've got it wrong for 4 consecutive transfer windows. I can't believe for a second that they're that silly, the board, as to not do it, if you know what I mean. They're surely aware of what's needed and what's required, and surely they know that another sort of low move, another Zaza type thing, Caleri, they know, they have to know, because otherwise people will vote with their feet and that stadium will not be full. So, but the longer it goes on, I do start to worry, but that's me. Maybe that's just my paranoia. Surely these successful business people will not be so silly as to not buy a striker, and I do believe that. I believe they will.
Yeah, I said that at the start of the window. That's why when we do this morning thing, I'm quite low. I think they've learned their lesson. I think their fingers aren't just burnt. I think they're like almost ash. And I think they know that they can't afford it anymore. There's a couple of questions off the back of these questions, which I'm looking forward to getting. And Peter and Joe submitted questions. Now, you two, we're not going to answer your questions. One, Joe's is like a personal question. Me and Gods are going to be doing a Q&A. We were meant to do it a few weeks ago, but we ran out of time because Scotland were playing England. We had to go watch the game. But if you've got any questions, submit them. We'll collate them all, and we'll sit down before the season starts, or just as the season starts, go through them all, and produce a couple of videos for you.
No, you're talking about non-football questions there, to be clear, aren't you?
Yeah, it's personal-ish questions. And Peter's asking a question. It is West Ham related, but we've got a new series coming out, and this question is in that series. So we don't want to spoil a series for you. You're just going to have to wait for the new series. Now, Parish Enco says, if we get no new signings, where would we finish next season if this was our squad?
Well, the strikers is a serious situation in that little scenario there. We'd just struggle to score goals. We'd do well to finish 15th, 16th. I do believe that. If it would, do you know what it would be? On that little scenario there, Parish, that would be totally dependent on Andy Carroll being fit. If he wasn't, we could probably go down. If Andy Carroll was fit for half the season, we could possibly finish 12th or something.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Actually, I'd say we'd be outsider for relegation. I think we'd be 8-1 in the bookies. Bookies would not be saying we're safe. Our odds of finishing the top half of the table would be very tempting as a West Ham punter to put on it, because they would be looking at our squad thinking they're not finishing in the top half. You know something, Gonzo, I'd shit myself if somehow this was our squad for next season. It's 10 positions are decent.
I mean, I'll tell you the scenario, actually. You wouldn't shit yourself, right, straight away, because what you do is it just get more and more towards the end of the transfer window, right? And then what would happen was we'd do out a little, like, a transfer deadline day special. So we'd be sat here like this on transfer deadline day, watching Jim White in his yellow shirt and yellow tie and whatnot. And we'd just be convincing ourselves they're going to pull something out. You imagine? And then the door closes, the transfer window shuts, and we'd be going absolutely potty live on air, I think, to be. Yeah, I mean, it would be terrible. But my point is, right up until the point there's a window shut, I'm sure we'd still be thinking, oh no, he's going to do a deal. There's going to be a last minute thing. They're going to spend the money.
We would get a deal, but it would be a good deal. It'd be Peter Couch on loan.
I'm Emenike back again, yeah, for 6 months.
He wasn't that bad. I am standing by this. Emenike was not a bad striker. He was a 4th-choice striker. He was good for a 4th. There was no name a team in the league at that time that had a better 4th-choice striker than West Ham.
Listen, mate, you need to calm down. Your webcam has stressed you out a little bit, I can tell.
He was a good 4th-choice striker. He was good for what he was.
Be careful with that pen.
Sticking by it. John, if we have a poor window, is it time for the board to go?
Well, the board won't go. But the board won't go. The board never go in any way, shape, or form. Everybody goes before the board. I'd say, because this is what happens in football. At the point where everybody says sack the board, sack the board sack the manager, and that's what happens. So if we have a poor, what will happen is if we have a poor transfer window, then the team will suffer. And if the team suffer, actually, the net result of that poor transfer window will be Bilic's job, and that is what will happen. I mean, you're just not, as a fan, I'm sorry, we're not in Germany where the fans own 51% of the club or anything like that, or even something like Real Madrid where, the fans vote in the president, don't they? That's what they do. They have the presidential elections. That's not where we are. The owners own the club. They bought the club out of their own money. There's no... The board will go out. The board will go when they see fit and when they want to. And if they do a bad job, Slaven Bilic will pay the price.
There is an alternative, whereas they resign their roles, they still own the club, but they're just getting a new board. And I think that's what everyone would be wanting. They would be wanting them. Well, to be honest, I think they'd want to sell them, but realistically, it's not happening. And I think it would become untenable. I think they would have to remove themselves from the club. If I were them and somehow we had a poor window, I wouldn't dare turn up to the Huddersfield game.
Listen, the trouble is so many of us have seen Terence Brown, who's still at the club. Believe you me, that man was getting dog's abuse and getting an absolute ton of stick. Funny enough, we talk about abuse on Twitter. I mean, he was getting direct, saying people on Twitter don't actually do it to your face. Oh, he was getting direct abuse. And I'll tell you what, you talk about the skin, the skin of a rhino. He had thick skin. He didn't care. Protests a lot. He carried on and he sat there and he sat through years and years and years of it. So, yeah, I've seen quite the opposite. I've seen it look like it's untenable, and then an owner just sit there and just rake in the money, and then still sell Rio Ferdinand from under our noses.
Right, a couple more questions, and we'll start wrapping this one up. Peter says, if Slav went, who, as a manager, who would you want to get in to replace him?
Okay, well, I don't want Slav to go, but we'll go with a hypothetical question. I've a bit of a curveball here, actually. I'd quite like to see what Nigel Clough could do. I don't think enough young managers are given their chance, and I think he's shown what he can do. And a lot of the time, you'll say these young managers that have proved themselves and maybe at the lower leagues and done a good job. He's never had any money to spend, and he's done a really good job. But you might say, well, they don't know how to handle the big players. Well, Nigel Clough played for England. Nigel Clough is the son of Brian Clough, and Nigel Clough was in a very, very good Forest team that won trophies as well. And I wouldn't be adverse to actually giving it to someone like that rather than one of these guys who's just Southampton has just appointed somebody. Watford change their manager every year. I wouldn't be adverse to doing something like that, actually.
I would also go in the Championship. Well, actually, one of them's out of the Championship now. David Wagner. I've been saying I really like David Wagner at Huddersfield. But Gary Monk as well. But I've got a feeling Monk will be in the Premier League. In 12 months' time, Monk will be a Premier League manager. I think he'll get with us for up. But they'd be my first two choices as well. Young, cheap, play good football. That's what I want to see, really. Good football. Just a manager that will play good football. We've got a couple more here. Paul and Mark. Mark, I worked out what your question said. I could read my writing now. Is there any players you'd like us to buy that we haven't been linked to? We've been linked to everyone, really. Yeah. West Ham, what you linking up.
Yeah, there is somebody, but I only realised the other day he'd gone already. I thought, why are we not beating down the door to get Delafeu? Who just looks absolute mustard, and then actually it looks like he's signed for AC Milan or something.
He's a right winger, that's why.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I've always rated him. I couldn't believe that he couldn't get in. Koeman didn't rate him. Strange.
Two strikers for me. One, Rondon. I fucking love Rondon. He's not been that prolific at the back end of last season, but I think he is what West Ham want. He's a big lad. He can keep it on the desk. Well, bloody love Rondon. Second striker, I don't know if he's fit yet. He'd have to check his fit. Danny Ings. Get back Danny Ings. Remember in January, I was banging the Danny Ings drum, then he got a 9-month injury or something. I like Danny Ings.
Yeah, that's not the only thing you did. You also sent a picture of Danny Ings in his kitchen, if you remember.
this show is a family-friendly show. Thank you very much. Last question, I think, unless I grab another one out of the chat here. David, if we're struggling at Christmas, but we've had a good window, he's the only guy that's mentioned we might have a good window. Everyone else is going, what are you going to do? But we have a good window and we're struggling at Christmas. Is it time for Slav to go?
I think it will be. I think he's had one good season, and I think, forget position, I think you could say he's had one very, at best, average season. So I think he's on trial now. His last season is on trial. And I think if the club can turn around and say, look, we've given you your £30 million striker, we've given you your left winger, and there's your right back, and then Slav still doesn't do it, yeah, I think that would be a fair case. But I do think if he got those three things, I think if he got his left winger, he got his really good striker, and he's got his right fullback, I don't think he would struggle.
I think it depends on circumstances. There's sometimes circumstances out with his control, like injuries and Payet thing, etc. But if everything goes as smoothly as it should, he gets his average injuries, etc. And we've had a good window. It's up to Slav, but I'm confident he can do it as well. But the funny thing is, I put on Twitter literally 3 days ago, just before the Onyekuru to Everton thing got announced. I said when the link to Giroud Walcott came up, I said, if David Sullivan goes and gets these two, he's done a good job. He's done a really good job this summer. He got Onyekuru as well. It's a dream window. But now the dream's gone. But if he goes and gets those players, David Sullivan can literally sit up there against Huddersfield and say, I've done my job.
Oh, yeah.
You lot in here cannot criticise me. I have provided him with the goods, etc. However, David Sullivan's next role is when to get that contract on Slaven Bilic's desk, because I think it should be here now. I think he should have a deal now, because I just don't see how it's feasible going into his last year of his. Everything he does from now till the end of the season is going to be thinking, how do I secure my job? That's Bilic's priority right now. His priority isn't winning the FA Cup. His priority is keeping his job. That shouldn't be his priority. His priority should be silverware. But right now it's not. And I just think he deserves, David Sullivan likes his clauses. Put clauses in his contract. If finish within 5 points of relegation zone, the board can rip up your contract for free. Put something like that in his contract if you want to. I bet you now Bilic will sign the bloody thing because he wants to be here long term. I get that feeling anyway. Let him build. Give him a reason to play Fernandes. Give him a reason not to loan out Cullen. Give him a platform. Until he's got that, we can't expect him to build. Expect him just to carry on going side. He's going to be doing noble passes, just going sideways instead of going forward. But Gonzo, is there anything else you would like to? I'll have a look, see if there are any more good questions. But is there anything you would like to say?
Yeah, just reiterate what you said. Please do send in your clips. info@hammerschat.com. Basically, at the moment I get 6 videos in, I'll do your shout. I'll just keep putting them out there. So that's yours. Big thank you to John, who helped us out at short notice tonight. Thank you very much, mate. We were talking about trolls earlier. The ants troll. Bill, thank you. I read what you said, mate, on Twitter. That's really nice of you. Thank you. I really respect you too, mate. Very nice of you. And don't forget, keep your eyes open for our Fantasy Premier League. We're also on the forum, hammerschat.com. We're going to have a prediction league, expanded prediction league for next season. Come over to the website, join in with that next season as well. We're going to be giving away lots of prizes.
I'm going to smash you at that, by the way.
There'll be no smashing at that, mate.
I will be thumping you.
You'll be thumping your webcam in frustration at how much I'm winning the fantasy league by.
No, because you're going to have Ross Barkley in your team. I'll be having players at one point. Last question. I think this is a good question, actually, to end on. It's someone from Twitter, so apologies, but John's put it in the chat for me. Do you think we can compete in the transfer market? It says with the top 6 to 10, but let's just say top 6, instead of just feeding on the scraps. Because remember in the last show I was telling you, we have to wait for the big boys to have their meal, then we get what's the crumbs that's left on their plate. Is it just a case of ownership has to change?
Well, we can't compete with those guys. We just can't. We don't have the financial muscle. Yeah, even the move to the stadium and our low rent doesn't enable us to do that. But we are growing. The club is growing. Now what I want to see is the extra revenue that's been generated to be spent on the players. Now, I don't think that's going to generate enough that we can spend 200 million like Man U might do, like Man City might do, like Chelsea might do. I don't think we're going to have 200 million. But I would like to see us, we normally spend about 35 million. I would like to now see us spend 60 million. I'm not unrealistic.
Yeah, I think it's just, in all fairness, I won't criticise owners for this. I think they do the best they can with the resources they've got. I think sometimes they can extend the resources they use. I don't think they sometimes use the maximum budget and they could use it more wisely. But we can't compete with the top 6 and we can't compete with Everton anymore. That's 7 teams in the Premier League we can't touch. That's worrying because the other 13, that's not a lot of teams really. That's almost half the league. We're almost written off half the league saying we can't compete with that lot. Soon it will be 8 teams, then it'll be 9 teams when they get bought, etc. We don't really want to be in the 11 to 20 group where we're competing with each other. We need to stay in that top 10. That's a big thing. And the thing is, there's no answer. There's no solution. And that's what's difficult. But anyway, you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure you drop a like on it. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Be kind. As Gonzo said, we'll be giving away prizes in the Fantasy League. We'll be giving away a signed Tony Cottee photo on this channel very soon, so stay tuned for that one. Also, let us know in the comments below anything we've discussed. So let me run through it one more time, recap for you. Scott Parker, is he a legend or not? Let us know. Enner Valencia's bid got rejected. Burke and Cullen look like they could be off to Bolton or loan. Are you disappointed? Or do you think it's a good move? Is Theo Walcott worth the 25 million? Gonzo says yes. I say no. Which one do you agree with? And then Onyekuru went to Everton. Are you disappointed? Are you worried about the window? Or should we forget about it? He's not going to be able to play next season anyway, so the board have done the right thing. But anyway, let us know. And let us know in the camera, as Gonzo said. But thank you very much for joining. Gonzo, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And it's Gonzo for me. It's goodbye for me. It's not Gonzo for me. It's goodbye for me. Thank you for watching.